This might sound crazy, but I truly think that they will go undefeated this weekend. The official CDL season is now upon us, guys, with the first week of matches starting later today. And this is arguably the most important time in the entire year following COD Champs for these teams, because this is where they can finally start to gauge to see where their ceiling is at and if they can be successful as a team of four for the rest of the year. On top of all that, I have a prediction that none of you guys are going to believe, but it doesn't happen until later in the weekend. So to start off my CDL week 1 predictions, we have the first match of the day starting at noon my time. It is the Florida Mutineers versus the London Royal Ravens. And while the Mutineers had a little bit better of a showing in the kickoff classic, I really am excited for this London Royal Ravens team. I think they have a lot of potential. This is going to be a make or break weekend for them. I know that they're better than what they showed, but for me, I think they're going to come out hot. I do have them beating the Mutineers. I know the Mutineers didn't have a horrible showing, but I just think London had this one in the bag. I truly do. I'm confident in them. So I have a 3-1 going in favor of London Royal Ravens. Then the second match of the weekend is Los Angeles Guerrillas versus the Boston Breach. Now, I said in my previous video that I thought Boston Breach was the most overrated team in the CDL, and here's the reason why. And that's because every year in Call of Duty, there's always a team that overperforms in the early stages of the game. It just happens, especially a team, when you look at them on paper, they don't seem like they're anything special. When you compare them to the top dogs in the league, you could tell. For some reason, I just think they're going to be a team, like many in the past, that overperform early, and then slowly people start to catch up and they get overpassed. And on the opposite side of that, you have the Los Angeles Guerrillas, who looked horrible, to be blunt, at the kickoff. I mean, they lost to a Florida Mutineers team, which when you look at these teams on paper, you would assume that LAG should kind of have their way with them, but they didn't. I think this needs to be a wake-up call, so I do have LAG winning this series. I'm going to say 3-1 as well for LAG. And then the last match on Friday, we have another good series, Seattle Surge versus NYSL. I think Seattle's the real deal. I do. I think they look great. They have a lot of potential, but I think Seattle's just going to keep carrying on the momentum that they have and the confidence that they have from the kickoff, and they're going to win this series. I have a 3-2. I think it will be closer, but I think ultimately Seattle Surge is going to come out on top. So now that my Friday predictions are done, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the same 3 teams are going to win that I have? You think I'm completely wrong? Or just, I want to just hear what your guys' opinions are. Now, first match on Saturday, we have the Paris Legion versus the Atlanta FaZe. And this is interesting for a couple reasons. Well, first, it sucks for Paris because we all know how Atlanta FaZe has been. Whenever they lose a series, whether it be a kickoff event, a series that might not be the most important, they seem to always have the fire and bounce back in the next one. And it just so happens that Paris is their first victim. I don't think Paris is going to be Atlanta FaZe. I think it probably is going to be a 3-0 in my honest opinion, but it gets tough. Because if Atlanta FaZe say they do lose to Paris Legion, just say they do, this could potentially be the beginning of the end for this Atlanta FaZe team. Now, I personally don't see them losing. Clearly, I have a 3-0. But if it happens, the foundation could start to crack. Then we have the second match of the day. It's OpTic versus London Royal Ravens. And as much as I want Trey and the homies on London to really start out hot this year, I don't see them beating OpTic. OpTic is just, they're going to be a strong team. They're going to be a strong team. They looked solid at the kickoff, but I think they're finally going to kind of get their heads on straight, at least I'm assuming, and they should be able to win this series. I do think London's going to take a map, but OpTic will be too strong in the respawns. And now we have a rematch of the kickoff finals, Toronto Ultra versus the Seattle Surge. And I think we're going to get a repeat. I think it's going to be a 3-1 to Toronto Ultra. They just, right now, they're the best team in the game, in my opinion. They looked really good. They're so consistent from top to bottom individually. They're so consistent in every single game mode. They're scary. they're probably one of the hardest teams to actually beat in the history of Call of Duty. You know, I'm not trying to pair them in with like the most dominant teams, but they are a very hard team to beat just because they have zero weaknesses. And then the last match for Saturday, guys, it's going to be the Los Angeles Guerrillas versus the New York Subliners. Oh, man, I want to say LAG goes 2-0 this weekend as well, but I can't. I think they're going to come out on Friday. They're going to beat Boston Breach, but they will unfortunately fall to NYSL 3-1. Not a bad start, though, for them. I don't think they're going to play bad in this series. I just think it's going to be a mix of NYSL having a close series with Seattle Surge, knowing that they can't afford to start 0-2 in this first weekend, and also LAG maybe still finding their footing. That's what I'm going with. So I have NYSL winning 3-1. Simple, easy, done with. Next up for Sunday, guys, the first match is the Florida Mutineers versus the Paris Legion. And I got a shocker. I have Paris Legion taking this series. I think it's going to be a close one. But while I don't think they're necessarily a top team, I don't think Florida is a top team either. I think Paris Legion does have potential. They're going to get bodied, in my opinion, versus FaZe the day before. But I think it's going to be a mix of Florida just being kind of down on themselves because they are the first match, and I'm predicting them to lose versus London. And on the side of Paris, I like the players. You know, if they can put it together, which I think they will in this series, I think that they could do some damage. They could be kind of the black horse in this league because they have very talented players. And while I do think that they'll put it together occasionally, it's all about consistency. So now we have the last two matches of the weekend. And here's a hot take that none of you guys are going to believe. It's a hot take because it's coming from my channel. LAT versus Atlanta FaZe. I have Atlanta FaZe winning this series. I think it's going to be a close one. I do. And for the same reason with Paris, I think Atlanta FaZe are looking to prove to everybody, including themselves, hey, we're still the top dogs. Yeah, we kind of got embarrassed at the Kickoff Classic, but none of that matters. This happened last year in Cold War. This is their time to prove that that was the preseason. Now, when the money's on the line, the stakes are higher, they're going to come out and prove that they're dominant. I hope I'm wrong in this prediction. I do. I want LAT to win. And I think they do have a good chance to. I think this is going to be a very close series either way. I don't think it'll be one-sided at all. But it's the Atlanta FaZe we're talking about. And then lastly, OpTic versus Minnesota. Unfortunately, I just think Minnesota is not where they need to be at to actually compete. I think OpTic is going to be too much of a powerhouse, so I have them winning that series 3-1.